I access my knowledge through my experiences. An experience is defined as the knowledge acquired by encounter over a period of time. Empiricism is a theory that argues that knowledge can only be gained through what we take in through the senses. For example, if someone said that all flowers are red, they would not be able to know this unless they had experienced or seen all flowers being red. George Berkeley, John Locke, and David Hume are all empiricists. Berkeley claims that material things cannot be said to exist as mind-independent things. For example, he would say that tables only exist because they are taken in through the senses or experienced. Therefore, if we do not have the experience of seeing a table, it does not actually exist. Locke argues against the concept of innate ideas by mentioning that many propositions considered to be true are not, which means that you cannot know things before experiencing them. For example, when we are born, breathing is an experience that is not innate, but is a reaction to a lack of air, and it comes from shock and a need to breathe. Hume talks about the concepts of impression and idea. Impressions follow perception, which involves hearing or seeing, rather than just thinking about these things, which relates back to a posteriori. Whereas idea argues that with a perception of the mind, which involves thinking of something, instead of actually first-hand experiencing it. A big idea that many philosophers discuss is the theory of death and God. Plato says that when we die, we go up and see perfect forms, and those are what we remember when we are reborn. We have no way of knowing what happens to us after we die because we have not yet experienced it. Xenophanes said that we have all made God in our own image, which would make sense because we would all picture God to be our own image of perfection, and we would not know what perfection is without first experiencing the good and bad qualities in both ourselves and the people and world around us. Whereas if we base God on any other types of knowing, such as reason, intuition, or emotion, we would not have enough information or knowledge in our brains to come up with a perfect being. Protagoras said that man is the measure of all things, which means everyone decides for themselves the meanings of things. If everyone decides for themselves, then according to women's ways of knowing and faith, most people would decide the same things, which doesn't make sense. Whereas everyone has different experiences, which would prove Protagoras right, because everyone would have different opinions. Other than knowledge through experience, I would trust memory the most. This is because memory and experience are related. Without memory, we would not be able to remember all of our experiences, and would therefore not be able to act and think based upon them. A limitation would be when John Locke asks how children or disabled people do not understand a priori things like math, therefore are also not able to use their memory to remember their experiences. A priori knowledge is said to be from the earlier when it does not depend on its authority upon evidence of experience. Although there were several philosophers who argued for empiricism, many argued against it as well, such as Descartes. Descartes said that he heard that there's a God that can do all things, therefore can make us think that 1 + 1 = 2. Descartes thinks that we may be being controlled either by a God or spirits. This would be a limitation to the concept of knowledge through experience, because it implies that we do not have control over our experiences, and the things that we think we are doing, we may not actually be. The quote by Descartes, "I think, therefore I am," means that if the only thing we can know for sure is that we think, how can we truly know that our experiences are actually happening? In conclusion, I believe that I am a knower through experience, and I access this knowledge most frequently. Experience can help us against making bad decisions. For example, most children at one point have touched either a hot iron or stove and learned about the consequences through that experience. They would now know not to make the same mistake again. Using reason or logic, someone might assume that the planet Neptune is completely water because it is blue, or that it is made out of gas. But we cannot know anything for certain until we have experienced it firsthand.